this is your pectoral girdle. So this is your clavicle that has come and articulated with your scapula. So this is your scapula right here. You can see the two borders of the scapula on this side, and you can see the other border of the scapula on this side. So these are your the scapulary margins, and you can see the spine right here, the spine of the scapula. Do you remember what this bone is, which fits into the scapula? What is the name of this bone? The humerus. So this is the head of the humerus fitting into the glenoid cavity of the scapula. So this is your ball and socket joint. So first we're going to look at some of the rotator cuff muscles, which are the muscles to do with this shoulder joint, the ball and socket joint. And if you start looking from the anterior side, so this is the side that is in front of you, this is your anterior surface. This is the pectoralis major that is sitting right up in the front. You can see this, these are your huge chest muscles, and which are used in your arm movement. And when I turn it around, I can see the spine of the scapula. So the muscle that sits on top of the spine, this is the supraspinatus. So supraspinatus sitting on top of the spine. Infraspinatus, this is the muscle that is beneath your spine, and we talked about the supra and the infraspinatus in our previous class when we were talking about the rotation of the humerus, remember? So medial as well as lateral rotation of the humerus. So this is your infraspinatus, and right underneath the infraspinatus is a muscle that is a synergist to the infraspinatus. This is your teres minor. So sorry, right here. So you can see your teres minor right here. So all this portion, this is all your infraspinatus. Underneath that, here comes your teres minor. And then underneath that, this big muscle right here is your teres major. Okay? So teres minor right here, teres major, these are all your rotator cuff muscles. So supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, teres major. If you turn it around, look at the fossa of the scapula. This is your subscapularis. So subscapularis muscle, this is in your subscapular fossa of the scapula. Remember the subscapular fossa of the scapula? The subscapularis muscle sits right there. So those are the muscles of your shoulder that you need to know. And now let's move on to the muscles of the arm. Let's orient ourselves first. So let's look at the inside of the arm. So this is your hand. So this is in the anatomical position. So imagine this being your arm. Now I'm looking straight up. And this large muscle right here, which sits on the inside of your arm, these are your biceps brachii. Okay, so pretty large chunky muscles. You know, when you flex your arms, these are the muscles that are going to work. So powerful flexors of your arm, these are your biceps brachii. They have two heads, and if you can see right here at the top, you will see that there are two heads that are articulating right there on the head of the humerus, where the glenoid cavity is. The one, this on the side is the lateral head of the biceps, and this is the medial head, which will form right there. So two heads, and that's why they're called the biceps. And the whole of the biceps brachii, they go all the way down, and they will insert themselves into your, go down between and go into your radial tuberosity. So that's where the insertion is. So that's why flexing of the arm at the elbow. So powerful flexors of the arm, these are your biceps brachii. Now helping the biceps brachii doing its work is another muscle which is a synergist. This right here is the brachialis. So brachialis also originates from the distal end of the humerus, and it goes all the way to the ulna, so the coronoid process of the ulna. So right here you can see the brachialis. This is a synergist to arm flexion. So the brachialis also helping in arm flexion. It is a synergist to your biceps brachii. Another muscle involved in arm flexion is this large muscle right here, which is the brachioradialis. So right here, you can see where the elbow is. So you know that this is the elbow right here. Sitting on your elbow right here, this large muscle, this is your brachioradialis. Okay? So brachioradialis again starts from the distal end of the humerus, goes all the way to the base of the radial styloid process. So kind of, sitting on the body of the radius, this huge chunky muscle is the brachioradialis, also helping the biceps brachii in flexion of the arm. So which are the muscles that are helping in the flexion of your arm? You have these large biceps brachii which sit on top. On the side you have the brachialis, which is a synergist to the biceps brachii, and then you have the brachioradialis on the side, which is also a powerful flexor of your arm. Now return the arm to the back side. So I'm going to show you the behind of the arm, if you can see. Now this is where the hand is right now. So I've kind of turned it to the opposite direction of the anatomical position, and I'm following these muscles on the top of your hand. So if you had your biceps here, I'm looking just at the reverse side of the biceps. And what do I see here? These muscles which have three separate heads. So you can see 1, 2, and the third head right here. These are your triceps, this entire huge chunky muscle. The triceps brachii. The triceps brachii again start all the way from your glenoid cavity right here, and they will go down all the way to the olecranon process of your ulna. So going all the way to the bottom. The triceps brachii are antagonists to your biceps brachii. So they are going to help in the extension of the arm. Okay, so when you're opening up your arm straight, that is extension of your arm. That is where the triceps brachii will help it. So this entire huge muscle sitting at the back of your arm, all of you know where this is. So all of this is triceps brachii. So that was the brachial region of the arm. Now I'm moving downwards. So where am I now? I'm going to zoom out a bit to give you a better view. So if you look right here, this was your arm. So all this time we were focusing on the top. So we were looking at the biceps brachii, we looked at the brachialis, we looked at the triceps brachii at the back, and then we looked at the brachioradialis, which is this muscle right here. Okay, so now basically I am turning the arm in this direction, and we are going to follow these muscles one by one. Okay, so again I'm zooming in. So the first muscle that you see, right, so this is your brachioradialis, which is a flexor of your arm. The first muscle that we are looking at right here is this one, which is called the pronator teres. So remember pronation, supination, movement of your arm when the tibia and when the radius and the ulna, they slide on top of each other. That pronation and supination, pronator teres helps in the pronation of your arm. Okay, now I'm going to open up this muscle right here, and I'm going to remove the pronator teres, and I'm going to show you this muscle which sits at an angle to the pronator teres, this muscle right here. This is called the supinator. So this supinator muscle does right the opposite of the pronator teres. So pronator teres helps in pronation, supinator helps in supination of the arm. And the pronator and the supinator muscles actually sit kind of a V-shaped form to each other. So if this is the pronator teres, this muscle which is deeper and at an angle to the pronator teres is your supinator right here. Is that clear? All of you will be able to know which is the pronator teres and which is the supinator. Okay, so that comes underneath the pronator. So let me push this back in place. So now I'm going to look at the muscle which is next to the pronator teres. So this angular muscle right here was your pronator teres. Now I'm looking at this muscle right here. This large muscle, this is the flexor carpi radialis. Flexor carpi radialis helps in the flexion of your arm. You will see that the flexor carpi radialis goes all the way to the base of your metacarpal right here. So flexion at the wrist, so when you fold your wrist inwards, flexion of your wrist towards the inside of your body, flexor carpi radialis. Okay, right next to that, this muscle does not have anything to do with flexion. This muscle is to do with the tensing of the skin or the fascia of your palm. It's called the palmaris longus. And the palmaris longus, you will see, also goes down all the way and it goes into the skin and the fascia of your palm. So it goes and inserts itself here. So when you straighten out your palm, when you straighten out the fascia of your palm, it's this palmaris longus that is working. So one more time, let's look at these muscles. Also, the other thing that I should mention here is when you're looking at this surface of the arm, which is in the anatomical position, all of these, if you're looking at, are flexors. So they're all going to help in the flexion of your wrist. Okay, so all the flexors are on this side, the extensors are on the reverse side. So please remember that when you're studying. So we looked at the brachioradialis, we looked at this one, the pronator teres. Right next to that was the flexor carpi radialis, and then was the palmaris longus right here. Okay, now I'm going to go and remove these three muscles from the top again. I'm going to show you this muscle which is lying underneath it. This is called the flexor digitorum superficialis, this whole muscle. The flexor digitorum superficialis. It will go and insert itself into the phalanges of your digits 2, 3, 4, 5. So flexor digitorum superficialis means again helping in the flexion of your digits. So helps in the flexion of your wrist, helps in the flexion of your phalanges 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these are going to help in, this muscle is going to help in the flexion of the wrist and your phalanges. So this is your flexor digitorum superficialis. Why is it superficialis? Because if you remove this, there are two other muscles which lie underneath it. So this muscle right here, this goes into your thumb or the pollex. Hence this is called flexor pollicis longus, helping in the flexion of your thumb. Flexor pollicis longus on this side. And on the other side, this muscle that you can see, this is your flexor digitorum profundus. Flexor digitorum profundus goes all the way to the distal phalanges of your 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So flexor digitorum profundus goes all the way to the distal phalanges of your digits 2, 3, 4, 5. Helps in, again, in the flexion of your digits. So the flexor digitorum superficialis goes to the middle phalanges as well as to the wrist. That's where they insert, helping in the flexion of the wrist and the digits 2, 3, 4, 5. When you remove the flexor digitorum superficialis, you will see the flexor digitorum profundus on the side, which will go to the digits, go all the way to the distal phalanges of these digits, helping in the flexion of these digits. So flexor digitorum profundus on this side and flexor pollicis longus on this side. Flexor pollicis longus going to the pollex or your thumb. All of them going to help in the flexion of your fingers. So I'm going to put back, actually let me keep it open. Now we'll turn it around. I'm going to now look at the extensors. So what are these extensor muscles right here? Starting from the side, let's look at the side of the muscle. Right here, the extensors haven't begun. So it seems almost as if now you're flipping the arm over, so all the extensors should be here. So that's what the students often get confused. But remember, this first muscle is actually still a flexor. This is the flexor carpi ulnaris. This sits on the ulna. So flexor carpi ulnaris, this is the last flexor muscle that you will see on this side of the arm. The flexor carpi ulnaris, again helping in the flexion of the wrist, it inserts itself into these metacarpals right here. The whole body of the muscle sits on the ulna. After the flexor carpi ulnaris, then start your extensor muscles. The first one is again extensor carpi ulnaris. So extension of your wrist now, okay? So extensor carpi ulnaris comes first. Then comes your extensor digitorum for the extension of your digits. Extensor digitorum. Okay? So extensor carpi ulnaris. Then comes your extensor digitorum. Now beneath the extensor digitorum, this tiny muscle that's peeping out, this is your extensor digitorum minimi, which helps in the extension of your little finger, your pinky. This small muscle right here, extensor digitorum minimi. And this extensor digitorum muscle as such helping in the extension of all your digits. Then the last two muscles which are sitting on this side, these are your extensor radialis muscles. So you have your extensor radialis longus, extensor radialis brevis. Okay? So extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis. So these extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, all helping in the extension of your arm at the wrist. So let's look at these muscles one more time. I'm starting from the side. Remember, this is a flexor muscle. So flexor carpi ulnaris. Turn it around. Extensor carpi ulnaris. Extensor digitorum. This is your extensor digitorum minimi, the small muscle on the side. Then you have this one and this one as your extensor carpi radialis. This long one is the extensor carpi radialis longus. This is your extensor carpi radialis brevis. Okay? So all of this helping in the extension and the adduction of your arm at the wrist, and most of them will all insert themselves close to your metacarpal. So you can see the insertion where these tendons are present. Now the two muscles on the side that I'm going to show you, these are your abductor muscles, and you can see the abductor muscle which is right here. Okay, let me show you one more time. You can see the thumb right there. This is your abductor muscle. So you can see the abductor pollicis longus right here. Okay, so this is your abductor pollicis longus going all the way to your thumb, and right above that, this is your extensor pollicis brevis. Extensor pollicis brevis, abductor pollicis brevis. And this is on the side of the thumb. Okay, so let's go over this arm on our own now. So you can look at all these muscles. We have labeled these muscles